Sammy Mcllroy, a name that was continuously on Manchester United fans' lips during the 70s, had one of the craziest careers in football history. From being the most reliable midfielder to one of the worst club managers ever, he has seen it all. Hold your seats tight as we take a deeper look into Sammy's fascinating life. Sammy was born on the 2nd of August 1954 in Belfast, Northern Ireland, amidst a turbulent period in which things were more chaotic than one may wonder. During the 1950s, Belfast was a post-war area marked by its economic struggles and social hardships faced by many working-class families. The McIlroys were no different. They continuously struggled to make ends meet for the family, but they knew how to survive, a skill that was going to stay with Sammy for a very long time. The Belfast we now see is completely different from the one Sammy grew up in, like a far cry. During his childhood, it was a city heavily influenced by the political unrest in the country and had very limited opportunities for a very large population of over 400,000 people. In such a drastic period, there were very few things to hold on to for happiness and solace. And for most of the kids, including Sammy, football was one such primary thing. He spent a great part of his childhood playing with the ball on the intense streets of Belfast, often barefoot or wearing shoes that were either too big or worn out. As he grew up, the love for the game grew along, making him more dedicated, passionate, and determined towards the game. For him, football was a way to meet happiness amidst his dark and sorrowful life. And after looking at their child's love and devotion towards the game, their parents realized that it could actually be a way out for him from all the struggles and hardships of the working class that they had been struggling with for so long. And thus, despite having limited resources and finances, they supported their kid to pursue his love and passion with all his dedication and focus. Now, when he had his parents' support, what else did he need, right? Sammy started putting all his focus into football and had already set himself apart in a very short period of time. His precise passing, striking, and comfortable ball handling skills were his forte. He would spend hours and hours practicing and honing his skills, getting himself ready for the big stage whenever it would come. And after months and years of struggles and hardships, things finally started getting clearer for the Belfast kid. Sammy's talent was initially recognized and appraised by the local public and scouts as he played in nearby games and tournaments with players much older than him. However, there was a big difference between local recognition and being recognized on the higher level, what Sammy was actually hoping for. But as they say, those who wait till the end also get a chance to serve. Sammy's chance to serve came when a local Manchester United scout saw him playing in a nearby match and was surprised by his skills and understanding of the game at such an early age. At just the age of 14, Sammy was invited to join the youth camp of Manchester United, which was even back then one of the biggest football clubs in the world. It was a moment of pride and happiness, not just for Sammy but for the whole family. Moving to Manchester was like the escape from the struggle McIlroy wanted so desperately. It meant unlocking a new door of opportunities and possibilities for himself that would allow him to change the fortune of his family. All he needed to do was accept the invitation. But it wasn't as easy as it may sound, especially not for the McIlroy family. Right from his childhood, money had been the biggest challenge for them. You can imagine the financial condition of the family by the fact that Sammy had to wear oversized or torn shoes while playing his games, as his parents couldn't even afford him a decent pair of shoes. And moving to Manchester was way more expensive than that. It was like putting almost everything on the line, and they did it. Sammy moved to Manchester and joined their youth camp in 1969 as the final signing of Matt Busby, and despite having challenges like homesickness and isolation, he put his best for the next 2 years in the youth camp and became one of the brightest lads in the camp. The 2-year training at Manchester Youth Camp not only honed his playing skills, but also influenced his personality greatly. But all these skills were literally useless since he wasn't playing any professional matches so far. But you know, the sun doesn't set forever. Eventually it rises up. And the moment to rise up came for Sammy in 1971 when he got to make his professional debut in the high-stake Manchester derby, in which he would be making a crucial contribution with his debut goal in a 3-3 drawn match. Playing as a central midfielder, Sammy performed exceedingly well in his debut match and showcased great potential for the future with his game understanding and playmaking skills. However, for the initial couple of seasons, McIlroy was not quite able to secure his place in the starting 11 and continued to be in and out of the lineup as the moment demanded. After having one of the worst First Division seasons of 1973-74, where Manchester United suffered relegation, Sammy made a permanent place in the team in the next season and played all of the club's games as they gained an instant return to the First Division. Things got even better as the club reached the FA Cup final the very next season, although they unfortunately lost 1-0 to Southampton. By 77, Sammy had become a key member of the Man United lineup and known as the reliable midfielder who knew how to take care of things when they seemed to get out of hand. He kept up on everyone's expectations as the club won the First Division League Cup and he got his first winner's medal. It could even have been 2 Winners' Cups just 2 years later as United lost a nail-biting final against Arsenal in which McIlroy had equalised the game after being 2-0 down, only for Alan Sunderland to score the winning goal for Arsenal of nowhere in the final minutes. Sammy stayed with the Red Devils for over a decade and gave his fans some of the most iconic moments of the game. But let's not just see one side of the coin and say that Sammy was perfect. Although Sammy was a pure gem on the field, his personal traits constantly created new challenges and problems for him that sometimes went too far. One of such negative traits of Sammy was his ignorance of time. I mean, he just didn't know the concept of punctuality and always used to be late here and there. Although at the smaller level it was fine, things sometimes got too critical and became a huge issue for him that would leave a permanent stain on his playing career. You all might remember that controversial walk-off from McIlroy in 1980 when he chose to spend one night with his family rather than go to Malaysia with the team. Sammy was actually coming back from a World Cup qualifier and had to go to Malaysia on the Manchester plane, but he walked off and instead chose to spend the night with his family. However, this turned out to be one of the biggest mistakes of his life, which he himself admitted later on. The then United manager, Ron Atkinson, approached Sammy and said to him, "No one walks off a plane at Manchester," and fined him 2 weeks' wages for his irresponsible behaviour. Speaking of irresponsible behaviour, Sammy got into situations much worse than this, including one where he literally got a gun pulled at him. The incident dates back to 1975 when Sammy, along with his teammate Brian Greenhoff, was on a tour in Sydney after helping the Red Devils promote back to the First Division. They were actually in a shop when suddenly some people came and pulled a gun at their face. Recalling the shocking incident, McIlroy said, "The hotel reception recommended it and I said to Brian, 'You go,'" recalled McIlroy. He ran back to the room white as a ghost. To be honest, McIlroy got lucky that time, looking at the seriousness of the whole incident. But he wasn't so lucky 2 years earlier when he almost lost his life just when he had turned 18 and had become the rising star of Manchester United. In 1973, McIlroy was coming back from a local fish and chip shop in a car with his pregnant partner, and while taking a sharp right turn, they collided with another car that was coming from the opposite side at a much faster speed, and the collision was so heavy that Sammy got unconscious right then and there. When the emergency personnel and the ambulance came to the rescue, everyone thought that he was already dead, and they focused on taking out his partner, which was remarkably successful. McIlroy remained unconscious in the hospital for the next 10 days and had 4 broken ribs and a punctured leg. The survival in itself was a miracle, and initially, there was literally no chance of him going back on the field due to heavy breathing problems and lung problems. But, as we all know, he kept pushing himself and finally got back on the field, making huge contributions to Manchester United's domination during the remaining 70s. Sammy would have remained with the Red Devil for an even longer period of time had it not been a matter of pride. Just before Sammy was transferred to Stoke for a club record fee of £350,000, he had scored an amazing hat-trick against the Wolves, and then Ron asked him how much he thought he was worth. The sentence directly hurt McIlroy's ego, and upon knowing that Stoke had made an offer for him, he immediately signed it, and it was a career-changing signing. Sammy arrived at an already struggling Stoke club and helped the club avoid relegation for a couple of seasons before he couldn't do it eventually. The club faced an embarrassing relegation in the 1984-85 season, despite McIlroy winning the Player of the Year award, and he was eventually granted a free transfer to Manchester City this time, becoming the 4th only player to play for both the Manchester clubs. He also went ahead to play for some other clubs here and there, but did not find the same fame and love from the fans as he got with the United, so he announced his retirement in 1993, while he was still playing as a player-manager for the club of Northwich Victoria. And while he said goodbye to his amazing career as a player, his managerial career has just started, but wasn't looking great. And let's be honest, Sammy wasn't a very good manager. Apart from his tenure at Macclesfield Town that really impressed every football fan under his managerial service, all his spells with the other clubs was something he would never want to talk about. This often led people to question his game understanding, something he was previously known for, and his skills as a manager. But in return, McIlroy had his own allegations too. During the early 2000s, when Sammy was managing the national team of Northern Ireland, he constantly criticised club managers who were reluctant to release their players for international friendlies. In his opinion, restricting players from playing international games was a very poor tactic used by many Northern Ireland club managers, especially those who had already played for the country. For him, playing for the country was a much more important task than playing for a club. Is it, or is it not? I would actually love to know your thoughts on this. Sammy's love for his national team wasn't new, though. During his playing career as well, he had appeared in 88 games for the country and scored 5 goals while even captaining the team in the 1986 World Cup. McIlroy finally said goodbye to football in all sense in 2011 at the age of 55 for no reason known. When asked about whether he had more to give back to the game or not, he said, 100%. I definitely left too soon, and that is a big regret. I've made some bad decisions in my career. Well, to be honest, he has. Whether it is to walk off the plane to Manchester to leaving his favourite club for pride and ego, Sammy has indeed made some big mistakes in his life. But that, in no sense, takes away the talent and charisma he had on the field. He enjoyed a lavishing career as one of the best midfielders of one of the best clubs in the history of the game. Enjoyed watching the video? Hit the like button and subscribe to Sport Icons for more such interesting stories from the world of sports. I'll see you soon with another video. Till then, stay entertained.